Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Agnanatimirandasya Gyananjana Salakaya Chakshurunmiritam Yena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha Sri Chaitanya Manobhistam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kada Mahyam Darati Svaparantikam Vandeham Sri Guru Sri Yutapatakamalам Sri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Sri Rupam Sagrijatam Saganaragunatanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijanasahitam Sri Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Sri Visakanvitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindho Dina Bando Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Prisabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Haripriye Vancha Kalpatarupyascha Kripa Sindhupya Eva cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Namam Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pristaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Sarasvate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pashyata Reshatarine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Haribol. So okay, today we continue chapter number 7, text number 24. Avyaktam vyaktim apannam manyate mam abuddhaya param bhavam ajananto mama vyayam anuttamam. Avyaktam, non-manifested. Vyaktim, personality. Apannam, achieved. Manyate, think. Mam, unto me. Me, abuddhaya, less intelligent persons. Param, supreme. Bhavam, state of being. Ajanantaha, without knowing. Mama, my. Avyayam, imperishable. Anuttamam, the finest. Translation. Unintelligent man, who know me not, think that I have assumed this form and personality. Due to their small knowledge, they do not know my higher nature, which is changeless and supreme. Purport. Those who are worshippers of demigods have been described as less intelligent persons, and here the impersonalists are similarly described. Lord Krishna in his personal form is speaking before Arjuna, and still, due to ignorance, impersonalists argue that the Supreme Lord ultimately has no form. Yamuna Acharya, a great devotee of the Lord in the disciplic succession from Ramanuja Acharya, has written two very appropriate verses in this connection. He says, my dear Lord, devotees like Vyasadeva and Narada know you to be the personality of Godhead. By understanding different Vedic literatures, one can come to know your characteristics, your form, and your activities, and one can thus understand you are the supreme personality of Godhead. But those who are in the modes of passion and ignorance, the demons, the non-devotees, cannot understand you. They are unable to understand you. However expert such non-devotees may be in discussing Vedanta and Upanishads and other Vedic literatures, it is not possible for them to understand the personality of Godhead. In the Brahma Samhita, it is stated that the personality of Godhead cannot be understood simply by study of the Vedanta literature. Only by the mercy of the Supreme Lord can the personality of Supreme be known. Therefore, in this verse, it is clearly stated that not only the worshippers of the demigods are less intelligent, but those non-devotees who are engaged in Vedanta and speculation on Vedic literature without anything of true Krishna consciousness are also less intelligent. And for them, it is not possible to understand God's personal nature. Persons who are under the impression that the absolute truth is impersonal as are described as asuras, which means one who does not know the ultimate feature of the supreme truth, of the absolute truth. In the Srimad Bhagavatam, it is stated that supreme realization begins from the impersonal Brahman and then rises to the localized supersoul, but the ultimate word in the absolute truth is the person of Godhead. Modern impersonalists are still less intelligent, for they do not even follow their great predecessor, Sankaracharya, who has specifically stated that Krishna is the supreme person of Godhead. Impersonalists, therefore, not knowing the supreme truth, think Krishna to be only the son of Devaki and Vasudeva, or a prince or a powerful living entity. This is also condemned in Bhagavad Gita. Only the fools regard me as an ordinary person. The fact is that no one can understand Krishna without rendering devotional service and without developing Krishna consciousness. The Gita confirms this. One cannot understand the Supreme Person of Godhead, Krishna, or his form, quality, or name simply by mental speculation or by discussing Vedic literature. One must understand him by devotional service. When one is fully engaged in Krishna consciousness, beginning by chanting the Mahamantra, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, then only can one understand the Supreme Person of Godhead. Non-devotee impersonalists think that Krishna has a body made of this material nature and that all his activities, his form, and everything are Maya. These impersonalists are known as Mayavadi. They do not know the ultimate truth. Hmm. So they're they're Mayavadi because they're in Maya. The 20th verse clearly states, those who are blinded by lusty desires surrender unto the different demigods. It is accepted that besides the Supreme Person of Godhead, there are demigods who have their different planets, 723. And the Lord also has a planet. It is also stated that the worshippers of the demigods go to different planets of the demigods, and those who are devotees of Lord Krishna go to the Krishna Loka planet. Although this is clearly stated, the foolish impersonalists still maintain that the Lord is formless and that these forms are impositions. From the study of the Gita does it appear that the demigods and their abodes are impersonal. Clearly, neither the demigods nor Krishna, the Supreme Person of Godhead, are impersonal. They are Lord persons. Lord Krishna is the Supreme Person of Godhead, and he has his own planet, and demigods have theirs. Therefore, the monistic contention that the ultimate truth is formless and the form is imposed does not hold true. It is clearly stated here that it is not imposed. From the Gita, we can clearly understand that the forms of the demigods and the form of the Supreme Lord are simultaneously existing, and that Lord Krishna is Satchidananda, eternal blissful knowledge. The Vedas also confirm that Supreme Absolute Truth is Anandamaya, or full of blissful pleasure, and that he is Abhyasa, by nature the reservoir of unlimited auspicious qualities. And in the Gita, the Lord says that although he is Aja, unborn, he still appears. These are the facts that we should understand from the Gita. We cannot understand how the Supreme Person of Godhead can be impersonal. The imposition theory of the impersonalist monist is false as far as the statements of the Gita are concerned. It is clear herein that the Supreme Absolute Truth, Lord Krishna, has both form and personality. Hare Krishna. Okay, what's the next one? Pranam, Jai Shri Prabhupada. Yes, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, Jai Shri Prabhupada.
Jai Shri Prabhupada, Hare Krishna. Should I continue, bro?
Hare Krishna, yes, Prabhu.
Thank you, bro. नाहं प्रकाश सर्वस्य योगमाया समावृतः मूढोऽयं नाभिजानाति लोको माम अजम् अव्ययम् ना nor aham I prakash manifest sarvasya to everyone yogamaya eternal potency samavratah covered mudha foolish ayam this na not abhijanati can understand loka such less intelligent person mam me ajam unborn avyam in objectable adjustable. Translation. I am never manifest to the police and unintelligence. For them, I am covered by the eternal creative potency, Yogamaya. And so the deluded word, know me not, who am, who am unborn and unfallible, perfect. It may be argued that since Krishna was present on this earth and was visible to everyone, then why isn't he manifest to everyone now? But actually, he was not manifest to everyone. When Krishna was present there were only a few people who could understand him to be a supreme personality of Godhead. In the assembly of Kurus, when Sisupala spoke against Krishna being elected president of the assembly, Bhishma supported him and proclaimed him to be supreme God. Similarly, the Pandavas and a few others knew that he was the supreme, but not everyone. He was not revealed to the non-devotees and the common man. Therefore, in the Gita, Krishna says that, but for his pure devotees, all men considered him to be like themselves. He was he was he was manifest only to his devotee as the reservoir of all pleasure. But to the others, to unintelligent non-devotees, he was covered by his eternal potency. In the prayer of Kunti in the Srimad Bhagavatam 1:8-18, it is said that the Lord is covered by the curtain of Yoga Maya, and thus ordinary people cannot understand him. Kunti prays, O my Lord, you are the maintainer of the entire universe, and devotional service to you is the highest religious principle. Therefore, I pray that you will also maintain me. Your transcendental form is covered by Yogamaya. The Brahma Jyoti is covering of the eternal potency, internal potency. May you kindly remove this glowing effulgence that impends my seeing your Satchid Anand Vigraha, your eternal form of bliss and knowledge. This Yoga Maya curtain is also mentioned in the 15th chapter of Gita. The Supreme Personality of Godhead in his transcendental form of bliss and knowledge is covered by eternal potency of Brahmajyoti, and the less intelligent impersonalist can cannot see the Supreme on this account. Also in the Srimad Bhagavatam 10:14-7, there is this prayer by Brahma, O Supreme Personality of Godhead, O Super Soul, O Master of all mystery, who can calculate your potency and pastime in this world? You are always expanding your eternal potency, and therefore no one can understand you. Learned scientist and learned scholar can examine the atomic constitution of the material world or even the planets, but still they are unable to calculate your energy and potency. Although you are present before them, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Krishna, is not only unborn, but he is aware, inexhaustible. His eternal home is bliss and knowledge, and his energy are all in inexhaustible. Veda Vedam Vedaham samtita Vedaham samtitani vartma Vedaham Vedaham samatinani sami Vedaham samatinani Vedaham samatitani वर्तमाननि वर्तमानानि च अर्जुन भविष्यानि च भूतानि माम तु वेद न कच्छन Veda, no. Aham, I. Sama, equally. Atitani, past. Atitani, past. Varata, Vartaman, Manani, present. Cha and Arjuna, O Arjuna. Bhavishyani, future. Sa, also. Bhutani, living entity. Mam, me, too. But Veda knows. Na, not. Kasana, anyone. Translation. O Arjuna, as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, I know everything that has happened in the past, all, all that is happening in the present, and all things that are yet to come. I also know all the living entities, but me no one knows. Purport. Here the question of personality and impersonality is clearly stated. If Krishna, the form of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, is considered by the impersonalist to be Maya, to be material, then he would, like the living entity, change his body and forget everything in his past. Anyone with a material body cannot remember his past life, nor can he foretell his future life, nor can he predict the outcome of his present life. Therefore, he cannot know what is the happening in the past, present, and future. Unless one is liberated from the material contamination, he cannot know past, present, and future. Unlike the ordinary human being, Lord Krishna clearly say that he completely know what happened in the past, what is happening in the present, and what will happen in the future. In the fourth chapter, we have seen that Lord Krishna remember instructing Vivaswan, the sun god, millions of the years ago. Krishna know every living entity because he is situated in every living being's heart as the supreme soul. But despite his his presence in his presence in every living entity as super soul and his presence beyond the material sky as the supreme personality of Godhead, the less intelligent cannot realize him as the supreme person. Certainly, the transcendental body of Sri Krishna is not perishable. He is he is just like the sun, and Maya is just like the cloud. In the material world, we can see that there is the sun and that there are cloud and different stars and planets. The cloud may cover all these in the sky temporarily, but this covering is only apparent to our limited vision. The sun, moon, and star are not actually covered. Similarly, Maya cannot cover the Supreme Lord by his internal potency. He is only manifest to the less intelligent class of men. He is not manifest to the less intelligent class of men. As it is stated in the third verse of this chapter, out of millions and millions of men, some try to become perfect in this human form of life, and out of thousands and thousands of such perfect men, hardly one can understand what Lord Krishna is. Even if one is perfected by realization of impersonal Brahman or localized Paramatma, he cannot possibly understand the supreme personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna, without being in the Krishna consciousness. Thank you so much.
Hare Krishna. Thank you so much, Prabhu. Okay, who wants to read next?
Hare Krishna. इच्छा द्वेषा समुत्थेन द्वन्द्वा मोहेन भारत सर्वभूतानि सम्मोहं सर्जयन्ति परन्तप. इच्छा desire, dvesha hate, samuthena born, dvandva duality, mohina overcome, bharata oceans of bharata, sarva all bhutani living entities, sammoham into delusion, Sarja in creation, Yanti, go, Parantapa, O conqueror of enemies. Translation: O science of Bharata, Arjuna, O conqueror of the world, all living entities are born into delusion, overcome by the dualities of desire and hate. Purport: the real constitutional position of the living entity is that of subordination to the Supreme Lord, who is pure knowledge. When one is diluted into separation from this pure knowledge, he becomes controlled by illusory energy and cannot understand the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The illusory energy is manifested in the duality of desire and hate. Due to desire and hate, the ignorant person wants to become one with the Supreme Lord and envies Krish, envies Krishna as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Pure devotees who are not so deluded or contaminated by desire and hate can understand that Lord Sri Krishna appear by his eternal potencies, but those who are deluded by duality and innocence think that the Supreme Personality of Godhead is created by material energy. This is their misfortune. Such a deluded person symptomatically dwell in dualities and dishonor and honor, miseries and happiness, woman and man, good and bad, pleasure and pain, etc. Thinking this is my wife, this is my house, I am the master of this house, I am the husband of this wife, though these are the dualities of delusions. Those who are so deluded by dualities are completely foolish and therefore cannot understand the Supreme Personality of God. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Prabhu. Who's next?
I can.
Very well.
Yesham tvantakatam papam janana punya karmana. Sorry. Te tvandva moha nirmukta bhajante mam trita vrata. Yesham whose two but antagatam completely eradicated papam sin jnanam of the person's punya pious karmanam previous activities. Te they Vandva duality moha delusion irmukta free from bhajante worship mam me trita vrata with determination. Translation: persons who have acted piously in previous lives and in this life, whose sinful actions are completely eradicated and who are freed from the duality of delusion, engage themselves in my service with determination. Purport: those eligible for elevation to the transcendental position are mentioned in this verse. For those who are sinful, atheistic, foolish, and deceitful, it is very difficult to transcend the duality of desire and hate. Only those who have passed their lives in practicing the regulative principles of religion, who have acted piously and have conquered sinful reactions, can accept devotional service and gradually rise to the pure knowledge of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Then gradually they can meditate in trance on the Supreme Personality of Godhead. That is the process of being situated on the spiritual platform. This elevation is possible in Krishna consciousness in the association of pure devotees who can deliver one from delusion. It is stated in the Srimad Bhagavatam that if one actually wants to be liberated, he must render service to the devotees. But one who associates with materialistic people is on the path leading to the darkest region of existence. All the devotees of the Lord traverse this earth just to recover the conditioned souls from their delusion. The impersonalists do not know that forgetting their constitutional position as subordinate to the Supreme Lord is the greatest violation of God's law. Unless one is reinstated in his own constitutional position, it is not possible to understand the Supreme Personality or to be fully engaged in his transcendental loving service with determination. Reinstated in his own constitution. Text 29. Chara marana mokshaya mam ashritya yatanti ye te brahmatat vidu krishnam adhyatmam karma chakilam. Jara, old age, marana, death, mokshaya, for the purpose of liberation. Thank you, Prabhu. Mam, unto me, ashritya, taking shelter of yatanti, endeavor, yea, all those, they, such persons, Brahman, that actually that viduhu, they know, Krishnam, everything, adhyatmam, transcendental, karma, fruitive activities, cha also, akilam, entirely. Intelligent persons who are endeavoring for liberation from old age and death take refuge in me in devotional service. They are actually Brahman because they entirely know everything about transcendental and fruitive activities. Purport: birth, death, old age, and diseases affect this material body, but not the spiritual body. There is no birth, death, old age, and disease for the spiritual body. So one who attains a spiritual body becomes one of the associates of the Supreme Personality of Godhead and engages in eternal devotional service, is really liberated. Aham Brahmasmi, I am spirit. It is said that one should understand that he is Brahman, spirit soul. This Brahman conception of life is also in devotional service as described in this verse. The pure devotees are transcendentally situated on the Brahman platform, and they know everything about transcendental material activities. Four kinds of impure devotees who engage themselves in the transcendental service of the Lord achieve their respective goals. But by the grace of the Supreme Lord, when they are fully Krishna conscious, they actually enjoy spiritual association with the Supreme Lord. But those who are worshippers of demigods never reach the Supreme Lord in his supreme planet. Even the less intelligent Brahman realized persons cannot reach the supreme planet of Krishna, known as Goloka Vrindavana. Only persons who perform activities in Krishna consciousness, Mam, Ashritya, are actually entitled to be called Brahman, because they are actually endeavoring to reach the Krishna planet. Such persons have no misgivings about Krishna, and thus they are factually Brahman. Yeah. Those who are engaged in worshipping the form or archa of the Lord, or who are engaged in meditation on the Lord, simply for liberation from material bondage, also know by the grace of the Lord the purpose of Brahman, Adibhuta, etc., as explained by the Lord in the next chapter. Haribol, thank you, Prabhu.
Hare. May I continue, bro?
Yes, Prabhu.
Sadhibhut daivam mam sadhiyajnam cha ye vidva prayana kale pichamam te vidur yukta chetasaha. Sa adhibhuta, the governing principle of the material manifestation, adhidaivam, undwelling all the demigods, mam, me, sa, aditya jnana. Sorry, sa adiya jnam, sustaining all sacrifices. Cha and ye, those with who know prayana of death. Kale, at the time. Api, even. Cha and mam, me. Ite, they, with who now. Yukta chetasa, with steady fat mind. Steadfast mind. Okay, first mind. Steadfast mind. Okay. Translation: those who know me as the Supreme Lord, as the governing principle of the material manifestation, who know me as the one underlying all the demigods and as the one sustains all sacrifices, can with a steadfast mind understand and know me even at the time of death. Purport: persons acting in Krishna consciousness are never entirely deviated from the path of understanding the Supreme Personality of Godhead. In the transcendental association of Krishna consciousness, one can understand how the Supreme Lord is the governing principle of the material manifestation and even of the demigods. Gradually, by such transcendental association, one becomes convinced of the Supreme Personality of Godhead Himself. And at the time of death, such a Krishna consciousness person can never forget Krishna. Naturally, he is those promoted to the planet of the Supreme Lord, Goloka, Vrindavana. This 17th seventh chapter, seventh chapter particularly explains how one can become a fully Krishna consciousness person. The beginning of Krishna consciousness his association of persons who are Krishna consciousness. Such association is spiritual and puts one directly in touch with the Supreme Lord, and by His grace, one can understand Krishna to be the Supreme Lord. At the same time, one can
Is it visible?
Yes, it's visible. Prabhu, are you there?
really understand the constitutional position of the living entities and how the living entities forgets Krishna and becomes entangled in material activities. By gradual development of Krishna consciousness in good association, the living entity can understand that due to forgetfulness of Krishna, he has become unconditioned by the laws of material nature. He can also understand that this human form of life is an opportunity to regain Krishna consciousness and that it should be fully utilized to attain the causeless mercy of the Supreme Lord. Many subjects have been discussed in this chapter. The man in distress, the inquisitive man, the man in want of material necessities, knowledge of Brahman, knowledge of Paramatma, liberation from birth, death, and disease, and worship of the Supreme Lord. However, he who is actually elevated in Krishna consciousness does not care for the different processes. Elevated in Krishna consciousness does not care for he simply directly engages himself in the activities of Krishna consciousness and thereby factually attains his constitutional position as eternal servitor of Lord Krishna. In such a situation, he takes pleasure in hearing and glorifying the Supreme Lord in pure devotional service. He is convinced that by doing so, all his objectives will be fulfilled. This determined faith is called dradha, vrata, dhada vrata, and it is the beginning of bhakti, yoga, or transcendental loving service. That is the verdict of all scriptures. This seventh chapter of the Gita is the substance of that conviction. Those in the Bhaktivedanta purport to the seventh chapter of the Srimad Bhagavad Gita in the matter of knowledge of the Absolute. Haribol, Jai Shri Prabhupada.
Nivo, thank you so much, Prabhu.
Thank you so much, Prabhu.
Hmm. Haribol. Okay, let's read.
Haribol.
Let's read two first verses of this chapter 8.
Haribol. Haribol.
Wants to read?
Yes, Prabhu.
Yes, Prabhu.
Chapter 8, Attaining the Supreme. प्रोक्ताम् अधिदेवं किम उच्यते. Arjuna Uvacha. Arjuna said, Kim, what? Tat, that. Brahma. Kim, what? Adhyatmam, the self. Kim, what? Karma, fruitive activities. Purushottama, O Supreme Person. Adhibhutam, the material manifestation. Cha, and Kim, what? Proktam, is called Adi Devam, the demigods. Kim, what? Uchyate is called. Translation. Arjuna inquired, O my lord, O supreme person, what is Brahman? What is self? What are the fruitive activities? What is the material manifestation? And what are the demigods? Please explain this to me. Perfect. In this chapter, Lord Krishna answered these different questions of Arjuna, beginning with what is Brahman. The Lord also explained karma, fruitive activities, devotional service, and yoga principle, and devotional service in its pure form. The Srimad Bhagavatam explained that the supreme absolute truth is known as a Brahman, Paramatma, and Bhagavan. In the addition, the living entity, individual soul, is also called Brahman. Arjuna also inquires about Atma, which refers to body, soul, and mind. According to the Vedic dictionary, Atma refers to the mind, soul, body, and senses also. Arjuna has addressed the Supreme Lord as Purushottama, Supreme Person, which means that he has putting these questions not simply to a friend, but to the Supreme Person, knowing him to be Supreme Authority, able to give definitive answer.
Okay, one more verse.
Okay. Text 2. अधियज्ञ कथम को अत्र देहे देहेऽस्मिन् मधुसूदन प्रयाणकाले च कथं ज्ञेयो ज्ञेयो ज्ञेय- ज्ञेयोऽसि नियत नियताभिः नियताभिः अभि अभियज्ञ the Lord of sacrifice, Katham, how, Kah, who, Atra, here, Dehe, in the body, Asmin, in this, Madhusudana, O Madhusudana, Paryana Kale, at the time of death, Cha, and Katham, how, Ye, be known, Asi, you can, Nitya, Atma, Bhiya, by the self-controlled. Translation: how does this Lord of sacrifice live in the body, and in which part does he live? How does this Lord of sacrifice live in the body, and in which part does he live? O Madhusudana. And how can those engaged in devotional service know you at the time of death? How can those engaged in the devotional service know you at the time of death? But the Lord of sacrifice accepts Indra and Vishnu. The Lord of sacrifice accepts Indra and Vishnu. Vishnu is the chief of the perimal demigods, including Brahma and Shiva. And Indra is the chief of the administrative demigods. Both Indra and Vishnu are worshipped by the Yagna performance. But here Arjuna asks who is actually the Lord of Yagna, sacrifice. And how is the Lord residing within the body of the living entity? Arjuna addresses the Lord as Madhusudana because Krishna once killed a demon named Madhu. Actually, these questions, which are of the nature of the doubt, should not have arisen in the mind of Arjuna because Arjuna is a Krishna conscious devotee. Therefore, these doubts are like demon. Since Krishna is so expert in killing demon, Arjuna here address him as a Madhusudana so that Krishna might kill the demonic doubts that arise in Arjuna's mind. Now the word Paryana Kale in this verse is very significant because whatever we do in the life will be tested at the time of death. Arjuna fear Arjuna fears that at the time of death, those who are in the Krishna consciousness will forget the Supreme Lord because at such a time, body functions are disrupted, and the mind may be in panic-stricken state. Therefore, Maharaj Kulasekhara, a great devotee, prays, "My dear Lord, may I die immediately now. May I die immediately now that I am healthy, so that the swan of my mind may enter into the stem of the high lotus feet." High lotus feet. This metaphor is used because the swan often take pleasure in entering the stem of the lotus flower. Similarly, the mind of the pure devotee is drawn to the lotus feet of the Lord. Maharaj Kulisekhara fear that at the moment of the death, his throat will be so choked up that he will not be able to chant the holy name, so it is better to die immediately. Arjuna questions how one's mind can remain fixed on Krishna's lotus feet at such time. Should I one more continue?
Yes, Prabhu. Yeah, one more.
श्री भगवान उवाच अक्षरं ब्रह्म परमं अक्षर ब्रह्म परम स्वभाव कर्म स्वभावो ध्यातमान उच्यते भूत भूत भावो भूत भावोद्भव भूत भावोद्भव करो विसर्गः कर्म विसर्गः कर्म समा समा समझनी संगीतः Sri Bhagavan Uvacha, the Supreme Personality of Godhead said, Aksharam, in Aksharam, indestructible, Brahman, Para-Brahman, transcendental, Swabhava, eternal nature, Adhyatmam, the self, Uchyate is called Bhuta Bhava, Udbhava Kara, action producing the material body of the living entities, Visarga, creation, Karma, fruitive activity, Sam, Samajitaha is called, Samjita is called. The Supreme Lord said the indestructible, transcendental living entity is called Brahman, and his eternal nature is called the self. Action part, pertaining pertaining to the development of this material body is called karma or fruitive activity. Purport. Brahman is the Brahman is the indestructible and eternally existing, and its constitution is not changed at any time. But beyond Brahman, there is Parabrahma, Parabrahman. Brahman referred to the living entity and Par-Brahman referred to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The constitutional position of the living entity is different from the position he takes in the material world. In the material consciousness, his nature is to try to be the lord of matter. But in the spiritual Krishna consciousness, his position is to serve the Supreme. When the when the living entity is material consciousness, he has to take and on various bodies in the material world. That is called karma or varied creation by the force of material consciousness. In Vedic literature, the living entity is called Jivatma and Brahman, but he is never called Para-Brahman. The living entity, Jivatma, takes different positions. Sometimes he merges into the dark material nature and identify himself with the matter. And sometimes he identifies himself with the superior spiritual nature. Therefore, he is called the Supreme Lord's marginal energy. According to the identification with material or spiritual nature, he receive a material or spiritual body. In material nature, he may take a body from any of the 84 lakh species of the life, but in the spiritual nature, he has only one body. In material nature, he is sometimes manifest as a man, demigod, an animal, a beast, bird, etc., according to his karma. To attain material heavenly planet and enjoy their facilities, he sometimes performs sacrifice yajna. But when his merit is exhausted, he returns to earth again in the form of the man. In the process of sacrifice, the living entity makes specific sacrifice to the attain specific heavenly planets and consequently reaches them. When the merit of sacrifice is exhausted, then the living entity descends to the earth in the form of rain, then takes on the form of grain, and grains are eaten by men and transformed into semen, which impregnate a woman, and thus the living entity once again attains the human form to perform the sacrifice and to so repeat the same cycle. In this way, the living entity perpetually comes and goes on the material path. The Krishna consciousness person, however, avoids such sacrifices he takes directly to Krishna consciousness and thereby prepare himself to return to Godhead. Impersonalist commentator on the Gita unreasonably assume the Brahman take the form of the Jiva in the material world and to substan- substantiate this. They refer to chapter 15, verse 7 of the Gita, but this verse also speak of the living entity as the eternal pregnant of myself. The pregnant of God, the living entity, may fall down into the material world, but the Supreme Lord Achyuta never fall down. Therefore, this assumption that the Supreme Brahman assume the form of Jiva is not acceptable. It is important to remember that in Vedic literature, Brahman, the living entity, is dis- distinguished, distinguished from Parbrahman, the Supreme Lord. Thank you so much, Prabhu.
Haribol. Thank you so much. Jai Shri Prabhupada.
Prabhu, can you explain briefly about
Oh, Prabhu, can we? So we can become a grain again, waiting to be eaten by human.
like I the process of why the living entity makes specific sacrifice to attain specific event planets and consequently reaches them. When the merit of sacrifice is exhausted, then the living entity descends to the to earth in the form of rain. Okay. Then takes on the form of grains, and the grains are eaten by man and transformed into humans. Which imply the living entity once again retains its human form to perform sacrifice and serve himself.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, now let's read Shikshastakam pairs. Cheto darpanamarjanam bhavamahadavagninirvapanam shreyah kairavachandrika vitaranam vidyavadu jivanam anandam buddhivardhanam pratipadam purnamritasvadanam sarvatma snapanam param vijayate Sri Krishna Sankirtanam.
नामनामाकारी बहुधा निज सर्वशक्ति तत्र पिता नियमिता स्मरण काला एतादृशेषु त्वकृपा भगवान् ममापि दुर्दैव दुर्दैवम् इदृश इह जानानि नानुग्रह.
Trinadapi sunichena tarorapi sahisnuna amanina manadena kirtaniya sadahari.
न धनं न जनं न सुन्दरं कवितं वा जगदीशकामे मम जन्मनि जन्मनीश्वरे भगवद्भक्तिरहैतुकी त्वयि.
ऐनन्दतनुजा किङ्करं पतितां मां विषमे भवां बुधौ कृपा तव पादपङ्कजास्तिदधूलिसदृशं विचिन्तय.
युगा नयनं गलद अश्रुधाराया वदनामगदगदारुद्धाय गिरा पुलाकिरनिशितां वपुपदा तव नाम ग्रहणे भविष्यति.
युगायितं निमेषेण चक्षुषा प्रवर्ष्यत्यं यतिं शून्यायितं जगत्सर्वं गोविन्दं विरहे न मे.
हस्दिश्यवापादरतं विनष्टु मामदर्शनं मर्महतं करोतु वा यथा तथा वा विधातु लम्बतो मत्प्राणनाथस्तु स एव नापरः. Glory to the Sri Krishna Sankirtan, which cleanses the heart of all the dust accumulated for years and extinguishes the fire of conditional life of repeated birth and death. This Sankirtan movement is the prime benediction for humanity at large because it spreads the rays of the benediction moon. It is the life of all transcendental knowledge. It increases the ocean of transcendental bliss and it enables us to fully taste the nectar for which we are always anxious.
O my Lord, your holy name alone can render all benediction to the living beings, and thus you have hundreds and millions of the name like Krishna and Govinda. In these transcendental names, you have invested all your transcendental energies. There are not even hard and fast rules for the chanting these names. O my Lord, out of kindness you enable us to easily approach you by your name, your holy names. But I am so unfortunate that I have no attraction for them. No attraction. No attraction.
One should chant the holy name of the Lord in a humble state of mind, thinking oneself lower than the straw in the street. One should be more tolerant than a tree devoid of all sense of false prestige, and should be ready to offer all respect to others. In such a state of mind, one can chant the holy name of the Lord constantly.
O Almighty Lord, I have no desire to accumulate wealth, nor do I desire you, beautiful woman, nor do I want any number of followers. I only want your causeless devotional service, birth after birth.
O son of Maharaj Nanda Krishna, I am your eternal servitor, yet somehow or other I have fallen into the ocean of birth and death. Please pick me up from this ocean of the birth and place me as one of the atom at your lotus feet.
O my Lord, when will my eyes be decorated with tears of love flowing constantly when I chant your holy name? When will my voice choke up, and when will the hairs of my body stand on end at the recitation of your name?
O God, feeling your separations, I am considering a moment to be like 12 years or more. Tears are flowing from my eyes like torrents of rain, and I am feeling all vacant in the world in your absence.
I know no one but Krishna as my Lord, and he shall remain so even if he handle me roughly by his embrace or make me broken heart by not being present before me. He is completely free to do anything and everything for he is always my worshipful Lord unconditionally.
निबो श्री शिक्षाष्टकम की जाय बिनाम कीर्तन की जाय पंचतत्व की जाय नित्यानंद प्रभु की जाय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य महाप्रभु की
Jai.
जाय ला प्रभुपद की जाय निताय गौर प्रेमानंदे हरि हरि बोल